Hi there, and welcome back to Sunshine Strategies Radio. My name's Jen McMillan, and I am the founder of Sunshine Strategies and your host today. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you if you're coming back or if you're a new listener. I first have to apologize. This episode is a week late, but there's a really good reason. And I'm not really sure how to start today because it's not a typical episode and it's more of an announcement. Don't get too excited though. It's not an announcement for me running for office or anything. But at the end of the episode, I will be asking you to make a donation. So, tomato, tomato. For most of you, you might not have seen or heard from me much since my run for state representative against Dan Calkins back in 18. Many people probably know why I got into politics, or at least they think they do. It seemed clear at the time that I had jumped in because Donald Trump was elected president, or because I thought that I was smarter than my congressperson on several key issues. And they would be wrong. I think I became a politician because of my mom, Lisa, also known as Pete. Long story, we'll get there eventually. I think she put me on the path, and then Mr. Lincoln took it from there. As long as I can remember, Mr. Lincoln has been haunting me, or I've been haunting him. To be honest, it could be either at this point. When I was young, one of my favorite memories was when my mom took me to the old state capitol in Springfield. The tall ceilings of the first floor seemed to stretch forever, making my elementary school self seem even smaller. I know, I'm still short. Thank you. I can't remember if she or the tour guide told the story of Abraham Lincoln, the man of the people, coming off of the judicial circuit to set up an office on the new city square. It's very much impossible to grow up in the heart of Lincoln Country, in Macon, Sangamon, Christian, and Macoupin counties, and not make comparisons to the most researched politician in history. It was him in mind when I realized that businessmen and lawyers shouldn't be the only ones in charge of our country, that we were missing the value of other identities. Not the identity politics that we deal with now, but rather the identities of humanity you see when you're out on the circuit. Let me try to explain. When Mr. Lincoln was a lawyer on the circuit, the court members traveled to where the issues were, because many involved property of some kind, land, items, and unfortunately at that point, people. So Mr. Lincoln and all of his contemporaries traveled to them, writing the paths between these infant cities. As these lawyers connected with clients, they learned of real-life issues that needed to be addressed by the people as a whole. That's the basis of case law and a really great foundation for public servants. Seeing that the current parties weren't meeting the needs of the people he met, Mr. Lincoln took the resources he had, including the systems and connections he had, to make a new party. The Grand Old Party, or the Republican Party today, focusing on the needs of its new members, came not from the ether, though. The Republican Party of Abraham Lincoln found its roots in American history further back, in the words of the Founding Fathers, because they didn't mention political parties at all. Back then, it was simply factions. And that's the real American spirit that I can find echoes of throughout our history. We take what resources we have, what connections do we have or can we make, and move forward to meet the people's needs. Sure, it's still tied up in questions of equality and rights, but no matter who you are or where you come from, Americans are resourceful and fierce when it comes to our families. And I still believe that to my very core. We get shit done, no matter what. And I think that's why I haven't been feeling like a good American lately. 8 years ago, I finally felt ready to take the leap. I love politics, if simply because it's the most efficient way to do good for the most people. So I took 2 trainings, one right after the other. The first was the Progressive Change Campaign Committee out in Washington, D.C. A team of us from Illinois attended, one of which was Rachel Ventura, now in the Illinois Senate. It was amazing to see so many passionate people together who cared about others and their rights. But a conflict came, prompting an immediate protest at the White House. Many of our students left, mobilizing without our leadership to demand a change immediately. Overall, it was an amazing experience, but that one instance stuck with me all these years. All the rural progressives stayed behind feeling lost because, yeah, that was a great opportunity, but what about all the work back home? I needed every minute in Washington, D.C. to learn how to fix it, not go out and yell about what's wrong now. After that, I went to the Illinois Democratic County Chairs Association. It was a life-changing experience in so many ways, but it opened my eyes to what Illinois politics really is right now. Power and money are so influential, they overwhelm even the popular vote of people time and time again. As a state representative candidate, I was caught so many times between doing what I knew was right and what the party thought could get me elected. Because I'm useless if I'm not in power. I know that sounds really harsh, but that was the message I took from all of my trainings. Progressive, Democrat, conservative, rural. You have to have power in the current system to make change. And I knew better. I still think I know better. I'm so proud of the campaign that I ran in 2018, and I'm even prouder of the way I conceded to my opponent. To this day, I still feel welcome to drop by his office on the way home and help him with a problem that he might have. I am not useless, and neither are you. We're just working in a system that doesn't see the power that we hold, or simply doesn't understand it well enough to mobilize it. Every politician, left or right, tells you that organizing people is the key to winning elections. So, how can I use that information to make a place for my kind of politics in this current environment? My kind of politics is what I've been doing this whole time, with a short break in the last year to figure out how to do it without going bankrupt. I show up, I listen, and I offer help. I refuse to lie to people, even when the truth is bad news. I want to genuinely care about my neighbor, not just the ones I talk to, but the ones who are shunned by society. They're all our neighbors. And since the last time I tried to change the world, I almost lost my whole self and my family. I can't do it that way again. That's why I've stayed away from politics these last few years. American politics, as it is, almost broke me. But with everything, there's balance. It also gave me the resources to find a solution. Many years ago, the first speech I gave at the Illinois Capitol echoed the FFA Creed by Tiffany. I'd like to echo it again. I believe in the future of politics, with a faith born not of words, but of deeds. Achievements won by the present and past generations of public servants in the promise of better days through better ways, even as the things we now enjoy have come to us from the struggles of former years. I believe that to live and work in a good community or to be engaged in other American pursuits is pleasant as well as challenging. For I know the joys and discomforts of American life and hold an inborn fondness for those associations which, even in hours of discouragement, I cannot deny. Those words didn't fail me then, and they don't fail me now. I just think that, like Mr. Tiffany's words, our culture of public service has to change. That's where Sunshine Strategies came from. To take the sunshine of knowledge from anywhere and shine it on community issues, organizing them to become more self-sufficient and eventually change how power works in politics. This is not the easiest approach. It is a lot easier to find a politician like Teddy Roosevelt to fight like hell for progressive values and enter the rings ourselves. But America's tried that. And unfortunately, the Bull Moose Party of Teddy's imagination never took hold. Please call me if you'd like to talk about this. This is a current topic of mine. I argue that we're simply starting from the wrong end of the issue. Let's rather help communities and match their resources and needs in their own way. Put them in charge of solving the issue and give them the resources they need to actually accomplish them. And since politeness and humor don't get you elected president yet, I can't do it myself. What I can offer is a place for communities of any kind to gather and have deep, meaningful conversations about tough issues we actually know about. I can listen to those conversations and help draft solutions, like which legislators to call or what grant we can apply for. I can go back to being a politician my way. Like my beloved FFA creed, I can show my values and plan for politics through my deeds. I can provide the consulting that helps people like Brian, who I met at one of my remote offices at one of the state parks. Brian and his son are going through a situation where his son was wrongly convicted of a crime and now has to register as a sex offender. I can become a lobbyist for people like that and try to help them navigate these complex systems and make life a little more fair for everyone. But in our current system, what I'm doing with Sunshine Strategies isn't technically political. It's business, selling my time to another agency as a consultant. But profit isn't the point. What if I set it up as a nonprofit? Any consulting fees earned can go back into the business to help another organization that matches the needs that we stand for. Instead of gifting my time, I can provide myself with a salary to collaborate across county lines. We have the bandwidth to house funds as nonprofits get started and provide them with resources on the ground like marketing and fundraising in places like Olney, Illinois, or Millstadt. Over the last 20 years, I've met a lot of public and nonprofit organizations and even businesses that just need help with a really big problem. And thankfully, I've worked at amazing organizations that have given me the abilities to solve problems like those, like providing kindergarten readiness skills for Decatur Public Schools, or writing a guide for Common Core state standards that actual humans can understand, modernizing office functions at a 150-year-old college, or bringing real help to families in crisis. And then when I notice that the system doesn't work very well, writing a 20-page proposal to the governor's office of how we could improve child welfare. The approach is always the same. Meet with the community members involved with the issue that needs to be addressed, discuss best practices, develop the resources or marshal them, and fix the issue. You bring the stakeholders to the table and you talk, working out better solutions together. We can do that in every community with every problem, one at a time. And like I said, this is not an efficient way to do this, but it is a way to tackle issues now instead of trying to figure out a way to fix politics as a whole. And I can honestly say that I don't feel bad about going back to being a politician like this. To me, this makes so much more sense than trying to polish up my rough edges to run for office in a broken system. Our communities are desperate for real help, and I can offer that now. So while this isn't an announcement to run for office, and I am not affiliated with any political parties, I hope you will consider making an actual tax-deductible donation to Sunshine Strategies, like my family has done over the last year. My champion, my husband Tim, has single-handedly paid the initial work for our first project, Project Taphophile, and he doesn't even like cemeteries. So if I'm going to keep working on these really hard issues, I need help. I'm willing to commit to downstate and rural civic engagement organizing in an open and honest way. Not as a Democrat, not as a Republican, just as me caring about people. We base that on our value system that you can find on our website. I will just continue to show up, identify a need, and draft workable solutions with any and all resources available to us. If this is the type of politics that you want to see, there are 3 things that I need you to do before the end of December. You got some time. You got about a month. An early birthday present to me, if you will. My birthday is on January 7th. First, I need you to sign up for Sunshine Strategies Facebook page and our newsletter on sunshinestrategies.org. There you can watch this work happen in real time. Next week, I am so excited to finally share our first project, Project Taphophile. Essentially, I like cemeteries. I am not just spooky at Halloween, I am spooky for life. And there's a cemetery that I cannot get to because I don't have a boat and it's not accessible by land. And this poor cemetery is falling into St. Chris Lake. And I don't want it to. I really want to go visit the cemetery. And all of the families that have people buried out there, they don't want it to fall in the lake either. So I am figuring out how to help Finley Cemetery out at St. Chris Lake. And then using that knowledge, we're going to figure out a way to systemically address the over 14,000 known cemeteries in Illinois. By signing up to follow our work, you can watch how this process takes place and see how bureaucracy can roadblock community-based solutions and how we can work around those to create solutions on our own. Second, I need you to donate to Sunshine Strategies. This will help us fund the first year. I've run the numbers, and to upgrade to a better mobile office instead of my Ford C-Max, set up the nonprofit business structure, and to pay me a basic living wage of $25 an hour for 1 year, we can fund this work for 1 calendar year for $150,000. Now remind me how much money we just spent in the last month alone on presidential elections? So far, without any additional donors, to my husband's despair, I remind you, the McMillan family has funded the first 6 months. And without outside support, we've put in the work and developed relationships to solve the problems in Illinois' oldest cemeteries. Now that I finally received the okay to share that, we can show how that happens. Even a donation of $25 provides an hour's worth of work for me to talk on the phone to the Illinois Department of Natural Resources, to edit a podcast episode. So I'm pretty sure that I know about 1,000 people between real life, Facebook, LinkedIn, 1,000 people. If I know I don't math very well, but if each one of you donated $150, I think we'd be there. And we wouldn't have to fundraise for an entire calendar year. And I know that money's tight. It's very tight here in the McMillan household, especially with all the uncertainty in the world. But money is not the only way you can help. If there is a community issue that you or a friend needs help with, please let me know. A real benefit of providing consulting work through a nonprofit model like this is that my regular office hours can be spent helping other organizations at no extra charge. That could be assisting with a special event, calling a senator to argue about a constituent issue, or drafting a website. If your organization could benefit from this, please reach out. As projects reach roadblocks, like on Project Taphophile, we can add a new one. So as I sit here in the dark, because I put this recording off to the very last minute today, because I was a bit nervous, I hope that you will donate and help me continue this work. I know that my passion is helping people, and I think that this is the best way for me to utilize my skill set in our current environment. Helping others is what I was put here to do, and fixing our broken systems is the best way that I can improve this world for my kids and yours. Visit us at sunshinestrategies.org. Go on Facebook. I am on Instagram. I'm too old for TikTok. If somebody would like to help me with TikTok, please reach out as well. Jen at Jen McMillin, McMillin.com. And I hope to talk to you guys soon. And next week, we will have an episode about Project Taphophile and the 2 cemeteries in St. Lake State Park. Until then, stay warm, and thank you guys so much. Good night.